Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going deep on this really cool connection between nature and spirituality.
Yeah.
We got two great articles here, one from the University of San Diego and another from the John Muir Trust. And it's fascinating because it goes way beyond just, feeling relaxed when you're outdoors.
Right.
This is about how nature can actually feed your soul and change how you see the world.
You got it. And it's something that, people have been looking to nature for spiritual meaning for all of human history. I mean, it's not just some new age thing. It's like in our DNA.
Totally.
What I thought was really interesting is that the USD article points out that connecting with nature, it's not tied to any one religion.
Right.
It's like a universal thing.
Okay, so how does that actually, how do we see that in real life?
Well, think about seeing how all the different species depend on each other.
Okay.
Like you see a bee pollinating a flower, or you feel the power of a waterfall,
Oh, yeah?
or even just taking care of an animal that's been hurt. These kinds of experiences can really make you think about where you fit in the bigger picture of it all.
I get that. And I think the USD article called it eco-spirituality, right?
Yes, exactly. Equal spirituality. It's like this idea that our spirituality and our faith are kind of tied into the natural world and where we fit within it all.
Okay.
And, this also connects to Pope Francis's idea of integral ecology, where we all share this responsibility for taking care of the planet.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's a good reminder that we all benefit from nature, and we should all be part of making sure that everyone has access to those benefits.
Right. It's like this we're all connected thing, not just to nature, but to each other through it.
Exactly. And the USD article really stresses how important it is that everyone has equal access to these resources.
Right.
Things like having clean air food,
So things we take for granted.
the things that we take for granted. Yeah,
I have to
exactly.
remember that not everybody has those things.
Right. It's a call for us to fight for a more fair and sustainable world.
Exactly. And even with all of the distractions of modern life.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
The USD article actually gives some practical tips to overcome these barriers.
They do.
Like 7 actual things we can do to connect with nature.
Yeah.
And the first one is to just get outside.
Yeah.
But wait, before we get into that,
Okay.
the USD article also mentioned this group called the Spiritual Naturalist Society.
Yes.
And they had these 5 simple approaches to nature as a grounding force.
Oh, yeah. I love these.
Could you remind me what those were again?
Of course. So they suggest approaching nature with observation acceptance, curiosity sharing, and celebration.
Okay.
It's not just about what you're doing out in nature, it's about the mindset you bring to it.
I like that, approaching nature with wonder and appreciation.
Right.
And speaking of appreciation, the USD article also gets into the spiritual benefits of having this strong connection with nature.
Uh-huh.
And I remember it talked about how being in nature helps you appreciate things just as they are.
It totally does. And it also helps you understand the rhythms of time and its limitations.
Okay.
It's about finding that genuine humility,
Right.
and learning to let go of the need to control everything, which can be so stressful.
Oh my gosh. So stressful. It's like nature helps you just be in the moment.
Totally.
And speaking of being in the moment, the USD article talked about how nature helps you cultivate gratitude. Right?
Absolutely.
I see it all the time, like when you take that deep breath of fresh air or see a beautiful sunset.
Makes you appreciate the simple things, right?
It's like a total reset button.
Yeah.
But the article is realistic too,
Yeah.
But the challenges we all face
Oh, yeah.
in trying to fully immerse ourselves in nature.
Yeah.
I mean, we're constantly bombarded with information, work demands, and everything else.
The digital world makes it tough to disconnect.
It does.
But they offer some good advice in the article, like bringing nature indoors.
It's like having houseplants.
Houseplants, exactly. Or even just a beautiful rock or a vase of flowers. Just little reminders of the beauty and peace we find outdoors.
Those little things can really ground you.
Yes, they can.
Okay, so let's get into those 7 ways to connect with nature that the USD article suggested.
Okay.
You said the first one was heading outside.
Yes, just get outside. It sounds simple, right?
It does.
But we tend to overcomplicate things.
Yeah.
The article really stresses how important it is to just be outdoors.
Okay.
Even if it's just for a few minutes to breathe fresh air and look at the sky,
Right.
it can make a huge difference.
I get so caught up in my to-do list sometimes
Mm-hmm.
that I forget to just step outside even for a minute.
It happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
But just think about it taking even a few minutes to step outside during your workday.
Okay.
Could make a big difference.
I love that. Okay, what's the next step?
The second way is by practicing care for creation.
Okay.
It's about going beyond just enjoying nature to actively participating in its well-being.
So, like, tending a garden, picking up trash, supporting environmental causes.
Yeah. All of that, and even bigger things like advocating for green initiatives in your community,
Right.
or even on a national level, it's about putting your values into action.
So it's not just taking from nature, but giving back to it.
Right.
Okay, I like that. What's number 3?
Number 3 is practicing wonder.
Okay.
And this one's all about tapping back into that childlike curiosity we tend to lose as adults.
Yeah.
It's about slowing down and noticing the little things.
Oh, yeah.
The small wonders that are all around us.
Like, I remember when I was a kid, I would just be fascinated by the smallest things.
Yeah.
Like the patterns on a leaf or how a spider builds its web.
Exactly. It's about looking at the world with fresh eyes.
Yeah.
And finding that sense of wonder in the everyday.
Like, I need to do that more often. What's number 4?
Number 4 is minimizing our lives.
Okay.
Now, this doesn't mean you have to get rid of everything and live like a monk or anything.
Okay, good.
It's more about shifting your focus away from material possessions to the more meaningful things in life.
So, like, experiences, relationships, personal growth.
Exactly. Prioritizing what truly matters and letting go of the things that don't.
That reminds me of, like, Franciscan spirituality,
Uh-huh.
which emphasizes simplicity and detachment from material wealth.
It's a good reminder that true happiness doesn't come from stuff.
Yes.
It comes from connection and experience.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the 5th way to connect?
Number 5 is going green. This one's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
It's about making choices that are good for the environment, both in our personal lives and in the wider world.
So, like, recycling, composting, using energy-efficient appliances.
All of that and bigger things like driving an electric car, installing solar panels,
Yeah.
or supporting businesses and politicians who are committed to sustainability.
It's about realizing that every little choice we make can make a difference.
It all adds up.
Yeah. Okay, what's next?
The 6th one is removing barriers.
Okay.
And this one gets a little deeper. It's about acknowledging the things that might be preventing us from fully connecting with nature.
Like, what kinds of things?
It could be anything, really, from like unhealthy coping mechanisms to
Uh-huh.
just being too busy to make time for nature.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle
It is.
and forget about those simple things.
And this step is about being honest with ourselves and recognizing those barriers.
Yeah.
The article suggests things like prayer, meditation, or even counseling to help us overcome these obstacles.
So it's about doing that inner work so
Yeah.
we can be more present and open to that experience.
Exactly.
And what's the final way to connect?
This one is all about giving thanks.
Okay.
It's about cultivating an attitude of gratitude for the natural world and all that it provides.
So, like, taking time to appreciate a sunset, the birds seeing the sun on your skin.
Yes, appreciating the big things and the little things,
Yeah.
even something as simple as a glass of clean water or the air we breathe.
Right. It's about being present and mindful of all the things we take for granted.
Exactly. And the article also encourages us to give thanks for our own inherent qualities and strengths,
Right?
recognizing our own value and the unique gifts we bring to the world.
I really like that a lot.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Okay, so those are the 7 ways to connect with nature from the USD article.
Right.
Now, the second article we have is from the John Muir Trust,
Yes.
and they offer 12 ways to connect with nature,
Uh-huh.
many of which actually complement the ones from the USD article.
They do.
The first one that stood out to me is patterns in nature.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever noticed how many patterns just repeat themselves in nature?
All the time, like the spirals in seashells.
Oh, yeah.
Or the veins on a leaf.
Exactly. The article even mentions this book by Philip Ball called Patterns in Nature,
I love that book.
which explores the mathematical beauty of all these patterns.
Yes. And he talks about the Fibonacci sequence.
Yeah.
Which pops up everywhere in nature.
Oh, like how the seeds are arranged in a sunflower.
Exactly. It's mind-blowing when you start to see how this mathematical sequence
Shows up in everything from pine cones to galaxies.
Yo.
It's like there's this hidden code connecting it all.
It really makes you think there's some intelligence behind it.
Definitely adds a layer of wonder to those nature walks.
Okay, so what's the next way to connect from the John Muir Trust article?
This one might seem a little counterintuitive,
Okay.
especially if you're not a fan of rain.
All right.
It's called Embrace the Damp.
Embrace the damp. What does that even mean?
It's about finding beauty and acceptance, even in like the less than ideal conditions.
Okay.
Like a rainy day.
Yeah.
Instead of seeing it as an inconvenience,
Right.
try to see it as a chance to experience nature in a different way.
I can see that, I had to walk home in the pouring rain a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of being miserable, I just decided to focus on how the rain made everything look so fresh and vibrant.
There you go. You embrace the damp.
I did.
It's about shifting your perspective and finding joy in the ever-changing tapestry of nature.
Okay, I like that a lot. What's number 3? This one is called Seeing Stars, and it's as simple as it sounds.
Okay.
It's about taking the time to just look up at the night sky and appreciate how vast the universe is.
You know, I went stargazing a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
and it was incredible.
It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it?
All your worries and problems just seem so small when you're looking up at all those stars.
It's humbling, for sure.
Yeah.
It reminds us of our place in the grand scheme of things.
Okay.
And speaking of perspective, the next point in the article is hone the senses.
Tell me more about that one.
This one's all about using all your senses when you're out in nature.
Okay.
Don't just look, listen, smell, touch, even taste.
So listening to the wind in the trees, feeling the texture of bark, smelling the wildflowers.
Yes. Being present and really immersing yourself in the experience,
Yeah.
it makes it so much richer.
I love that. What's the next one?
The next one is nurture curiosity.
Okay.
It's about approaching nature like a detective, looking for clues and piecing together the stories that are hidden all around you.
That sounds fun.
It is try looking for animal tracks.
Yeah.
Identifying plants, figuring out how everything fits together.
Okay.
The article even suggests thinking like a tracker, which I thought was pretty cool.
It's like turning a nature walk into a scavenger hunt.
Exactly. What a great way to stay engaged.
Right. Okay, what's next on the list?
This one is a bit more poetic. It's called From Dusk Till Dawn.
Ooh, I like the sound of that one.
It's all about appreciating the beauty of twilight
Uh-huh.
and the magical way the light changes as day turns into night.
I love those moments. It's like the whole world is holding its breath.
Exactly. It's so peaceful and serene.
Yeah.
It's about savoring those in-between moments that we often overlook.
Those are some of the most beautiful moments.
They are.
Okay, what's the next way to connect?
The next one is be one with the trees. Have you ever felt a connection with trees?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. There's something so majestic and grounding about them.
I know what you mean. The article mentions this book by Colin Tudge called The Secret Life of Trees, which explores the complexity and ancient wisdom of trees.
Wow.
It's amazing to think that some trees have been alive for hundreds or even thousands of years.
It makes you realize how fleeting our own lives are.
It does, and it makes you appreciate their strength and resilience.
It does. Okay, so what's next?
This one is called Feeding Time, and it's a simple reminder that food just tastes better outdoors.
Oh, I 100% agree. Picnics are the best.
Right. The article talks about how the sensory experience of being in nature actually enhances the flavor of food.
Okay.
And it's also about slowing down and enjoying the simple pleasure of eating.
It's about being present and mindful.
Exactly.
I know whenever I eat outside, I pay more attention to the flavors and textures.
Yeah, it's like a mini meditation.
Uh-huh.
Now, there's a little cautionary note here about campfires.
Okay.
While they can be fun, the article stresses how important it is to be aware of the risk of wildfires.
Yeah, that's a good reminder. We should always be respectful of the environment
Absolutely.
and prioritize safety.
Hmm.
Okay, so what's next?
This one is called Natural Rhythms.
Okay.
And it's about tuning into the cyclical nature of time and the lessons we can learn from the seasons.
Like how nature goes through these cycles of growth, decay, and renewal.
Exactly. The article talks about how observing these natural rhythms can teach us about acceptance and change,
Yeah.
reminding us that everything is impermanent and that's okay.
It's about finding comfort in the ebb and flow of life.
Right.
What's the next one on the list?
This one's called Get Creative,
Oh, fun.
and it's all about finding artistic inspiration in nature.
I know a lot of artists and writers who find endless inspiration in nature.
It's a great way to connect with nature on a deeper level,
Yeah.
whether it's painting, photography, writing, or even just arranging found objects.
Uh-huh.
Nature offers so many possibilities for creative expression.
It's about seeing the world through an artist's eye and finding beauty in the unexpected.
Exactly.
Okay, what's next?
This one is simple but powerful. It's called Free Those Toes,
Okay.
and it's about the simple joy of going barefoot.
You know, I've always loved walking barefoot on the beach or in the grass.
Me too. It's so grounding.
It is.
The article even mentions this concept of earthing,
Uh-huh.
which suggests that having that direct contact with the Earth's surface can have some health benefits.
It's about reconnecting with our primal connection to the earth.
Right, and it just feels good.
It does. Okay, so what's the final way to connect from the John Muir Trust article?
The last one is tune into the birds.
Okay.
It's about using bird watching as a way to connect with nature.
Oh, I love watching birds. They're so fascinating.
The article mentions a book by John Young called What the Robin Knows,
Okay.
which goes deep into the world of bird language and how much we can learn from their behavior.
It's like they have their own secret language.
They do, and the article quotes a San Bushman who talks about building a connection with nature through repeated observation.
Oh, wow. What does he say?
He compares it to a thread that grows stronger each time we see and appreciate a particular bird or animal.
Huh.
And eventually, that thread becomes a rope binding us to the web of life.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Isn't it? It's a reminder that our connection with nature is an ongoing journey
Yeah.
of discovery and connection.
It's not a one-time thing. It's an ongoing practice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And both of these articles give us so many wonderful ways to weave that practice into our lives.
Yeah. The beauty of it is there's no right or wrong way to connect with nature.
You got it.
It's about finding what resonates with you and brings you joy.
Absolutely.
So before we move on to the next part of our deep dive, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Okay.
What are some of the key takeaways that stood out to you?
I think for me, what really resonated was that connecting with nature, it's not just like a nice thing to do, you know?
Right.
It's essential. It's like food for our soul.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is there are so many different ways to do it.
Yeah, and I love how both of the articles talked about approaching nature with that sense of wonder and curiosity,
Yes.
like rediscovering that childlike awe.
It's like remembering what it was like to be a kid again
Exactly.
and just be amazed by everything.
Yeah. And beyond that awe, the USD article also highlighted all of the deeper spiritual insights we can get from nature. Like that sense of belonging to something bigger, realizing how much we take for granted.
And how it can inspire us to live more sustainably,
Yeah.
you know, and be more mindful of our impact.
That's so important.
It's like that connection pushes us to fight for a world where everyone can experience that beauty and benefit from those resources.
That's a great point. It's like the spiritual benefits of connecting with nature shouldn't be separated from our responsibility to protect it.
Right. We're all in this together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so for our listeners who are feeling inspired to connect more deeply with nature, where should they begin?
Well, the first step is really just making the effort to be in nature.
Oh.
Even if it's just for a few minutes each day.
Right.
Take a walk in the park, sit under a tree, listen to the birds. Just be present with it all.
It's about making that choice to disconnect from all the screens and distractions
Exactly.
and just be in the moment.
Tune in to the rhythms of nature.
Yeah, and from there, you can explore all the different ways to connect.
Right.
Like, try some of those suggestions from the articles we talked about.
Yeah, see what you like.
See what sparks your interest and what brings you joy.
And remember, there's no one right way to do it.
Right. It's a journey.
It's a personal exploration.
Exactly.
And the more you do it, the more meaningful that relationship with nature will become.
I think that's a great point to end this part of our deep dive.
Okay.
But before we do, I want to ask our listeners to take a moment and think about everything we've talked about.
What really stood out to you?
And most importantly, what's one small step you can take today to nurture that connection and bring a little more nature into your life?
Maybe it's something as simple as noticing the trees on your way to work or bringing a plant into your home.
Every little bit helps.
Absolutely.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with the words of that San Bushman
Oh, yeah.
that really stuck with me.
Okay.
He said, each time you stop to appreciate nature, you're strengthening that connection that binds you to the web of life.
So beautiful.
It is.
And as that connection grows, it will support you, it will guide you, and it will remind you of your place in this incredible world.
So true. Well, until next time, fellow explorers, keep seeking the Eily, keep wondering, and keep connecting with the natural world around you. You know, it's not just about observing nature, right? It's
Yeah.
about actually getting involved or interacting with it, letting it really become a part of your life.
Yeah, it's like becoming a participant in the dance.
Yes.
Instead of just watching from the sidelines.
And as you get deeper into that connection,
Yeah.
you might find yourself like drawn to certain activities that really speak to you.
Right.
Maybe it's gardening or hiking or bird watching, or even just finding a quiet place in nature to think and reflect.
It's about following what excites you,
Yeah.
what brings you that sense of peace and connection.
And you might be surprised by how much that connection like fuels your creativity
Oh, yeah.
and helps you grow spiritually.
It's a powerful journey,
It is.
reminding us of how connected we are to all living things.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into nature and spirituality,
Okay.
is there anything else you'd like to add? Any final thoughts for our listeners?
Well, I always like to leave people with something to think about.
Okay.
So I'd like to ask you, our listener, a question.
Okay.
Think about everything we've discussed today.
Yeah.
Which of the methods we talked about really spoke to you?
Uh-huh.
And what's one small step you can take today to nurture that connection
Yeah.
and bring a little bit more nature into your life?
And remember, even the smallest things can make a big difference.
They really can.
Whether it's taking a moment to notice the colors of the leaves or stepping outside to watch the sunset.
Every little bit counts.
Absolutely.
So go out and explore. Embrace that wonder. Let it nourish your soul and inspire you to live a more mindful and connected life.
Thank you so much for joining us on this journey into the heart of nature and spirituality. Until next time, keep exploring.